Who walked outside and got themselves cold? Yes? Yes. Good.
I was on top of that hood in a tank top and people looked at me like I was crazy that it's colder here than it is up there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, I was on the roof yesterday. It was 11 degrees, but the sun was out. I mean, I was sweating. I went up in like, fleece and a big hat, and I started shoving. I'm like, okay. I went back inside, put a light pair of pants on, a t-shirt, and sunglasses. I'm out there, hey! Neighbors think I'm insane, whatever. But listen, be careful if you're going on a roof. I will say this. I mean, speaking of Mount Hood, if you're a mountain climber, it's not that bad. You can figure out how to walk sideways and use the shovel like an axe. But just be careful climbing around. There's stuff you don't realize. You can walk off the edge and things like that. So just be super careful. Anyway, so quizzes make sense? Oh, one more thing I want to say about quizzes too, Madison and everybody else, and Daniel and everybody else was asking about them. I do have in-class quizzes from time to time. There's in-class and there's out-of-class. The out-of-class ones I'll post on the schedule page for the following week. So this is kind of a weird week, but I will put some up for next week. I think I know what we'll do between now and then, and I'll put a couple quizzes up for you to do for next Friday. But I try to get those up with at least a week of warning so that you can get on them and start working on them. Okay? But the big thing is, you don't have to do any file conversions. Like, the quiz is going to be there, and then your job is to just open up some kind of a piece of paper or a document and just type your answers into that. You may have to copy and paste and snip images and put them in there. It's totally cool. Who's used snipping tool in Windows? Okay, you will use it in here if you haven't. It's a wonderful little tool. Actually, it works so well, I can't believe that Microsoft invented it. But you will use it in here. Is there a version on Mac? Who uses Mac and knows it pretty well? Is there like a snipping tool thing on Mac or a print screen kind of thing? There is. Okay, I don't know what it is, except it exists. Good. Yeah. Okay, so that's quizzes. So and the in-class ones count for your 10. The out-of-class ones count for your 10. If you do these two for Friday, they count for your 10. And the reason, again, I do the optional quiz thing is I know so many of you are so busy. You've got a lot of classes. Some of you guys are probably taking over 17, 18 credits, I'm guessing, if you guys are my typical students. There's going to be some weeks when you get to class, like week 4, and you're like, you know what? I got a term paper to write. I got a midterm in this class over here. I'm not going to do any assessments for Sean's class this week. And this gives you the option to do that. You can just check out for that week as far as turning stuff in. Come to class, pay attention, make sure you're not getting far behind. But as far as turning things in, don't feel that you have to. I give you that little bit of breathing room. And the reason I started doing this because students suggested it in evals. It would be really nice to be able to kind of take a week off every once in a while. And although I don't want you taking a week off of class and thinking and participating, as far as having to turn things in, being able to have that option seems to work well for students. And you guys and girls seem to be the kinds of students that can kind of figure that out. Like staying on track but not having to turn stuff in. So, cool? Quizzes? All right, good. Talk to me, Brian.
The term assessment, is that a catch-all phrase for everything we're doing?
Yeah, it really is. And the thing about it is, these are just the assessments that I collect points from you on. I always try to assess, figure out, measure, observe, these are all kind of synonyms, if learning is taking place. I want to know if you all are getting what we're talking about in class. So that's how I assess learning. It's how I observe, pay attention to learning. These are just, when students think of assessment, they think of how do I get points in here? And that's what this is. The student side points. Is that fair? Yeah, assessments just means like what I collect as far as points go. But that's all tied to how you're learning, ideally.
All right.
Fair enough, sir?
Yep.
Please ask me questions when you get them. Please, 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 please. All right, good. Projects are sprinkled throughout the term. You may have noticed these already. Let's go take a look at one on the schedule page. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Your guys' call. 1, 2, 3, or 4? 4. 4. Love it. That's in week 10. So go ahead and find week 10. This is the Bayes project. One of my favorites. Who's ever heard of false positives and false negatives? Who's ever heard of that? Only a couple of you? Stat folks I know have. Yes. If you haven't, false positives and false negatives are important things to understand. It's what happens when you take, say, a drug test or a disease test and you get a result back. And the test usually, or a pregnancy test for that matter, right? Test comes back positive or it comes back negative. Okay? If the test comes back positive, what does that mean? Suppose you're taking a test for some kind of a medical condition. Let's say it's presence of, I don't know, enzyme C. I'm making stuff up, I'm a biologist. And it comes back positive. What does that mean? You have it, unless that was a false positive, in which case it tells you you have it, but you actually don't. What if it comes back negative?
You don't have it.
Unless it was a false negative, in which case it came back negative, and you actually do. You see what I'm getting at here, friends? When a test comes back positive or negative, it's supposed to mean just what my two friends here, tell me your names again.
Cassie.
Cassie and Ty, thank you. What Cassie and Ty said, you have it or you don't have it. But the test can be right or wrong. No test is perfect. This project walks you through how to work the math to understand how to measure those things. Does that make sense? It's all, I will tell you this right now, it is multiplication, addition, and division. That's the math on that project. That's the math on that project. That's it. That's it. It's a lot of reading though, as Madison, Cassie, Ty, Daniel. Started to hurt a little bit, it's okay. So, the project, all the projects are tied to things that we do in class, but they're kind of like, they're just extensions. They're already posted, all 4 of them are already posted for the term. So you could start on project 1 if you wanted to this weekend. I mean, you got a 3-day weekend, I'm not saying you have to. It's not due till week 3. That makes sense? That's project, this is project 4. You guys asked for project 4, bless you all. But project 1 isn't due, it's called the basics of probability. That one's super fun. That's addition and division. That's all that's in there. So that's it. That project is due week 3, 10 a.m. Friday, week 3. And I'll keep reminding you about that. Same thing as quizzes. Don't feel that you have to download that thing and convert it to some kind of a file. It's a series of introduction explanations, and then at the end of it, there's problems, 1, 2, 3, I forget how many there are. They add up to 25 points though. 25 points is the total sum for the projects. So your grade over here is going to have that addition of 25. By the end of the term, you'll have 4 of those like this. By the end of the term. By the end of week 3, it's like this. Okay, and then you're going to get your grade. How'd you do on your 25-point project?
25.
Hell yeah, you did. Suppose you didn't. Suppose you got 22. Later on, we'll talk about the rainy day coupon for projects too. Later. Talk about the end of the term. Same thing as quizzes though. Same idea. Okay so far? That making sense? Hopefully. Yeah, I'll keep reminding you about those. That's far enough in the future that we can chat as we go. Quizzes are more immediate. The last assessment to talk about is the thing called exams. I called them exams. It's a terrible word. I hate the word, but you're used to it. So an exam, there's going to be 2 of them. There's going to be one in week 5 and one during the finals week, which I haven't posted either of them yet. I have to write the first one, and then later on I'll write the second one. They are not done in class, me looking over your shoulder with a pencil. They're going to be downloadable outside of class. I want you to work on them together if you want to work on them together. Work on them by yourself. Ask me questions on them. It's just a collection of stuff that I found in the world that applies to what we're doing in class. And I want you to puzzle through it like I puzzled through it. Because math is only fun, in my opinion, if you can actually use it to do something useful, besides factoring a quadratic. It's much more fun to be able to say something like, well, on average, what happens? Ooh, on average, what do you mean? I want to give you scenarios and data sets and have you find scenarios and data sets. Do you know that breastfeeding raises your IQ? You heard that one. Botox lowers migraine rates. This is the kind of stuff I want you tracking down. And I've got a series of questions to help you track these things down. Okay? And it's not, those kinds of questions are not designed to be done in 2 hours with a pencil and paper in a classroom. You need to be outside and spend time collecting data sets. So I'll put up exam number 1 sometime next week. It won't be due for 4 weeks after. You'll have plenty of time to slip away. You can work out a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. So I hesitate to call it an exam, because it really doesn't feel like an exam. It feels like a collection of quiz-type problems that are all in one place. They kind of flow in each other. So in summary, for assessment, thank you Madison and everybody else, in summary, most of the assessments, point-wise, that you do in here are going to be done outside of class when you have time. You're going to download them and have them submitted by the due date, which is always the Friday, 10 a.m. of the week they're due. The ones we do in class will be pretty easy to figure out because we'll do them together. Sound pretty good? Sounded okay? Any last minute questions on that pop up? I know it's weird if you're reading through my syllabus going like, wait a minute, when's the final? There really is no final. There's a second exam due during finals week. You're not going to come to the, well, we'll see what happens with Tim Snow. You might be here during finals week, I don't know. We'll see what the school, what the administrators do with the schedule. But my goal is for us not to be in this room during finals week. That's my goal. See if that maintains. I do have a little disclaimer on my schedule page that says, I hold this just in case of snow days. So we'll see, you might need it. But, so it's weird. I'm not saying it's not weird. It's an interesting grading assessment thing, but it works. I think it works for students. I think it works for students. And I'll ask you later on to do class evals and tell me what you think. Because I love hearing student input. I want to know what you all feel and how you think you're learning. I want you to think about how you're learning, very meta. Because it helps me make the course better. So I know what topics we have to do, but it's how we discuss them and how we get you to learn them that's the important thing. Cool? All right. Any other questions about syllabus? That was great. That took a little bit longer, but I'm glad. I'm glad, honestly. It's so weird, the way I grade, that I wanted to make sure that it made sense going into Friday for that quiz that's due. It's not like your normal online homework where you're multiple choicing and things like that, or typing in square root signs and things. It's definitely more holistic than that. There you go. Just make sure when you submit stuff to Blackboard, I put this down here, either Word documents or PDFs. And that might be weird this first week. We'll work through it. We'll sort through it. We'll figure it out. But try to get in that habit now. That way, the reason I ask for that is if I have to put a comment on your assessment, I can only put comments on Word and PDF. I can't comment on JPEG or TIFF or bitmap or anything like that. Or any kind of Macintosh file. People were, last year I had one student that refused to not send me Mac files. Like, ugh, come on, convert it to a PDF. I don't know how. I'm like, it's in your Mac. I showed you out of office hours. How can you do it? Anyway, it was fun. We left about it after a while. I got a cup of coffee together. So, cool. Other questions? What do you got? What do you got? Let me go back to the syllabus. So you can look at it. Anything at all? Anybody buy a textbook? Good. Don't. There is none. Well, there is one. Actually, let me say briefly something about that. Did you guys